Richmond Taggart served in Desert Storm from 1990 to 1991. When during his deployment, he invaded Kuwait. On January 19th of 1990, U.S. forces established a 30-day carpet bombing in Kuwait and its surroundings. After the 30-day bombing, on August 2nd of 1990, two regiments were sent into the borders of Kuwait in order to invade and push out the fleeing Republican Guard. The Republican Guard were the enemy of the United States at the time. One regiment was sent to the border of Iraq. The border of Iraq regiment was called a home and a job. What many would consider, an American ideal home. But what many people do not see are the effects that war has left on McTaggart. McTaggart has suffered with multiple physical and emotional trauma. He had 6 nightmares in total of the war, of waking up and having dreams of the war. He even suffered some minor injuries to the knee. And when he sought help from the VA or the Veterans Administration, which is going to be called the VA for the period of this time of the discussion, he was put on a waiting list. It come to find out, it took him 2 years to get help from the VA or to be even seen from the VA. Hello, my name is Jonathan Allen, and today I will be talking about the Veterans Administration's failures to veterans. Before I go any further into this discussion, I needed certain limitations need to be put on this discussion in order to further understand and know what's going to be talked about. Firstly, I only be talking about the VA only. The VA only because the VA is the only governmental funded or sponsored agency that veterans can go to in order to get help or to receive benefits in some type of way from a war experience. Secondly, I'm only talking about American veterans. American veterans are only going to be talked about because simply the fact that we are in America, and other veterans from other countries cannot come and get benefits from the VA in America. Thirdly, I will be talking about 1970 to present day. Although I'll be going over some history and background in order to give you a further deepen detail and an idea of it, the VA really became important in 1970 after Vietnam, which brings me to my history and background. The VA was established in 1636, although it didn't become important until World War I from 1914 to 1918. In order to give veterans benefits such as disability composition, insurance service persons, and veterans, vocational rehabilitation for the disabled. And that's according to the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Also, the VA was not always known as the VA. It wasn't always the Veterans Administrations, and it always wasn't a trinity. The VA used to be set up into 3 different own separate categories. They're called the federal agencies, and these federal agencies were called the Veterans Bureau, the Bureau of Pensions, the National Home for the Disabled Volunteer Soldiers, and this is according to the history of veterans benefits. Although these 3 federal agencies proved faulty and they failed very quickly. And this is where Congress stepped in 1930, and they established the Veterans Administrations as we know today. And the first leader of the Veterans Administrations was General Frank D. Hines. He was the leader for 7 years until 1945. And this is where we get into Vietnam. Vietnam brought a lot more of benefits to veterans, such as pension, education and training, healthcare, home, loan, employment, and burial. So they get all that on top of what they already have. but it took them 2 years to get those benefits. It took them 2 years to get help. Imagine someone that's not in that situation or not going through the same thing with tag words or is in a worse situation. Continuing on eligibility, a veteran must serve 24 continuous months or full period to which one is called to duty if they enlist after September 7th, 1980, or entered active duty after October 6th of 1981, according to eligibility for VA healthcare. Now, remember how I said the VA was set up into 3 different ones? The VA is now set up into the Veterans Administrations, but it is set up into 3 different ones as one trinity. It is set up in as the Veterans Benefits Administration, the Veterans Health Administration, and also the National through corruption and leadership, mismanagement, and we're going to go over the moral aspect as my last one. Corruption and leadership. Our first corruption and leadership is with general areas if the evidence is not there, and you have a general that sees the percentages, he sees this, and he's supposed to be a person that is able to take percentages and know what can come out and what cannot. But yet he still pushes and it still fails, and they're still spending money for something that they could have been spending for medical advancements, or more nursing homes, more get the veterans off street, more food for the veterans, but he didn't. It's a clear sign of corruption and leadership. Also, according to the Washington Post, areas like New York and Los Angeles are more rural areas. Veterans are waiting 600 days or more for their claims to be processed. So they're waiting 600 days for their claims to be even looked at or start be looking at. And on average, 53 veterans are dying each day because of this. Why are they dying? Who knows? They're dying maybe because of the nastiness that the cities are in. New York and Los Angeles are not the cleanest places. You have diseases, you have sicknesses, you have everything. And they're out in the streets, homeless, hungry, and probably sick. But it doesn't make sense because the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, is the nation's largest healthcare system in the U.S. with 240,000 employees and 1,400 sites, such as hospitals, nursing homes, and the VA centers. Plus, their budget exceeds over $100 billion. They're getting $100 billion, but they can't get the process claims going faster. Also, according to the Washington Post, Congress provided the VA with $25 billion in additional funds since 2009. In 2009, while cutting funds from other departments such as anything else that our Congress puts in money into for our nation. Now that's from 2009 to 2013. Now, what defenders of the VA might say to this response or to this evidence is that backlog is growing, so access for previous generation veterans are being pushed back. So what they're saying is that since more veterans are coming in, more war technology and more war advancements are being brought up, more injuries, more everything, that the VA doesn't have enough space or enough money to go ahead and do the right thing. I say my response is that the VA should have seen it coming. They should have seen that this is happening, and they should have known that it was going to happen just because of World War I, World War II, and all the wars previous to this time. Vietnam was tragic to a lot of Americans, and it was tragic to a lot of people. The VA should have taken that, saw it, and ran with it, made it more hospitals. Because like I said, they have 240,000 employees, but they only have 1,400 sites. But they have $100 billion, so why can't they make more sites? More sites, more people seen, the faster things roll. The Veterans Administration also shows the failures of veterans through mismanagement. Not only mismanagement through the facilities themselves, but also through government. For example, in 2009, a government report showed that the VA was underreporting the number of veteran suicides in Spoke, Washington. This VA leader was Shannon Helm. She reported that 9 out of 22 veterans committed suicide. The government found out that she lied about the 9, and it was actually 22. Also, 2012, Helm was moved to the Phoenix Veterans Affairs Healthcare System. She was moved to Phoenix, Arizona. And that's where she worked after that. So after 2009, she worked there. She was then accused of holding a secret waiting list that caused the death of 40 veterans. And she still had nothing was brought up, nothing was charged against her. She had no penalties. She had nothing. She kept her job and everything after the assumed death of 13 veterans and after the assumed death of 40 veterans. That's 53 veterans in total she has on her hands. And this is all according to the VA failures killed veterans. Also, again with Sharon Helm. Helm then received a $9,000 bonus on top of her $169,000 annual salary. So she gets accused of killing 53 veterans, and she gets $9 grand. She gets more money and keeps her job. There's no penalties. She didn't have no jail time, no suspension, nothing. This is obviously a clear sign of mismanagement, not just through the facilities itself, but from the government. The government saw this, they addressed it, but they didn't address it correctly. They didn't do the right thing, and they didn't do it in time. They should have seen the first incident and gave her a warning, wrote her up, suspended her, but they didn't. And then it got worse. That's a sign of that. Also, another example of mismanagement. Because of this mismanagement from the government, it causes the corruption in leadership, and the corruption in leadership causes the mismanagement through the facilities. For example, multiple VA hospitals in Pittsburgh experienced a Legionnaires disease outbreak that left 6 veterans dead and 22 seriously ill. That's 6 veterans dead and 22 ill after they should have been sanitizing already and cleaning already. That should have been doubled because of what's happening. That should have been doubled because of the Legionnaires, and first of all, whatever they're doing. And that shows that because of, for example, Helm, if she keeps her secret waiting list, more veterans get pushed down. More veterans get pushed down so they get to the bottom of the list, which causes that backlog. But that doesn't explain the unsanitary and the more deaths because of that. Also, another example of mismanagement through the facilities is that a South Carolina VA facility in Columbia left 6 veterans dead as a result of this of delayed routine cancer screenings like colonoscopes and endoscopes. So because of the unsanitation and the nastiness and the corruption in leadership, that's 12 veterans dead just because of through the facility. There's no wonder that McTaggart is not able to get there. Now, reputation through this claim might be that funding must be increased in order to increase veterans' healthcare system. Well, let's take a look back at it. They got $100 billion. And also from 2009 to 2013, they also got $25 billion in access additional funds. And also, the VA fundings have increased from $98 billion to $153 billion in 2009. That's over 60%. They don't need the fundings. It's because of the mismanagement and the corruption. Thirdly, the VA has repeatedly shown their failures to veterans because of the moral aspect and the lack of the respect and the lack of kindness through the Veterans Administration. This is going to bring us to our moral aspect. I like to quote, while only one day of the year is dedicated solely to honoring our veterans, Americans must never forget the sacrifices that many of our fellow countrymen have made to defend our country. Randy Newberg. Now, this is one of the many, even though this doesn't necessarily go strictly to the VA or the Veterans Administration, this shows that we only celebrate one day out of the year for veterans. We only get one day of our attention, and then they go back to serve, and most people don't even think about it. Even though it should be every day that we think about, they're saving our lives. They're doing this for us. Also, another quote I'd like to tell you. On the battlefield, the military pledges to leave no soldier behind. As a nation, let it be our pledge that when they return home, America leaves no veteran behind. Dan Linsky. So let's make it our pledge to leave no veteran behind, to leave no veteran homeless, hungry, or sick. Let's make it our pledge to make the Veterans Administration better. Let's do everything we can to push and make it a better and stable facility. Because according to thehill.com, 20 veterans commit suicide a day on average. PTSD messes with your head, messes everything, messes your life up. That's because of that. Also, in 2010, the VA estimated 67,000 homeless veterans in total. And that's according to thegreensdoor.com. That's a lot of homeless veterans, regardless of the situation or what it is or how it happened. The people that were in the not the nicest places across the country. People that fought for us, shot for us, put their lives on the line for us, and they're homeless. Also, we need to make it our pledge, like Dan Linsky said, to make it to where we fight for veterans like we fought during 9/11. 9/11 on September 2001, on 11th, 2 terrorist planes hit the World Trade Centers and knocked them down. America came together as a team and helped every service member hold a memorial for them, and it was a touching moment. Why can't it be a touching moment like that every single time? It's like that for veterans. Maybe it's just because we're not there, or maybe it's because we don't see the things they do, but still, we need to feel that. Now, some reputation of this, people would say, is that veterans made the choice to serve, so why should I care? Why is it my responsibility for care for veterans that chose to fight, chose to go and deploy? Well, to that I say, what if it was your family member? What if it was someone that was close to you or your cousin? Would you have a different mindset? It doesn't matter who it is. We are all people. We all have souls. We all are the same. So treat everybody like the same. Treat them like if they go to war, they cannot come back. And feel it like how they feel it for their family. If it's not your family member, feel it for their family member. Also, another quote would be, we can't equate spending on veterans with spending on defense. Our strength is not just in the size of our defense budget, but in the size of our hearts. In the size of our gratitude for their sacrifices, and that's just not measured in words or gestures. Jennifer Groen. In conclusion, we have gone over the corruption of leadership. We have gone over mismanagement, and I've told you about the moral aspect and why you should care. Why you should care that the Veterans Administration is not doing enough for our veterans. And I'd like to leave you a quote. If you're running down our countrymen, walking on the fighting side of me, by Moe Haggard. Thank you. Questions?
Jonathan, good job, bud. I find it interesting that this topic, we talk about this topic a lot, but yet in all my years of doing the senior thesis, this is the first time I can recall someone addressing this topic. So in that light, how did you kind of zero in on this? You come from a military family? Is your background, is it just kind of something that you have a passion for, or how did you land on this?
Well, my father, Gary right there, he served a little bit. But I just have an all around moral respect for any veteran, regardless of how long they served or what they did. I think it's a great accomplishment, and it's a great, sacrifice that they do to put their lives on the line, regardless of what it is. So it helps, but it pains me to see people disrespecting veterans. And I just did it because I was like, I don't see people really respecting veterans in a certain way. I mean, yes, they do, but over the years, it has grown multiple cases of veterans just being disrespected. And you see even sometimes online on videos. So that's how I basically narrowed in on it.
Well, I'm glad we got young people like you to carry that on, Jonathan. I thought you did a good job. And one of the things that I really found a strength of what you did, it was obviously an ethos-based argument. There's a lot of emotion involved in this, but you had a lot of numbers behind the emotion. And some of the numbers are just staggering, the amount of money that's been spent and the number of lives that have been impacted negatively through this. I thought you did a good job of backing up an emotional argument with some strength in numbers. So good job on that.
Yes, Jonathan, I want to say the same on that. What Mr. Lawrence has just said is that by far your passion has come through in the presentation, and it causes audience to listen more carefully and closely, because it's very evident that this is very meaningful to you. And I appreciate what Mr. Lawrence just said, because it did back up your passion with facts, and that makes it even more important. So thank you. I enjoyed being able to sit here today and listen to your presentation. Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, you did a great job. Thank you very much for broaching this topic. You did well. It kind of reminded me in your presentation, the same approach to the VA is the approach they have in education. If you throw more money at it, it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. And I think you did a good job debunking that philosophy of our government and even some people in our culture. So, and I also think you probably just barely scratched the surface. You could have given all kinds of statistics and other examples and everything like that. So well done. I appreciate you taking on this topic, and I really don't have any questions because I think you covered it well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Jonathan, let me ask you something. This is not about the thesis. Is this the last thing you had to do to put a wrap on the senior year?
Yeah, I just got to graduate now.
Well, nobody else has anything. Jonathan, you can get out of your suit now and call it done.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Good job, bud. All right,
Jonathan.
later.